welcome back to our channel. Hope you're all doing well. In today's episode, we are going to discuss about thyroid and its related issues. So let's begin the interview with Dr. Preeti Dayal. So nowadays, PCOD, thyroid and diabetes, hypertension, all these have been very common issues, especially, I still remember during my hostel days, every other girl has thyroid or PCOS. Why do you think that is so common? Actually, what is thyroid?
Thyroid is a gland. It is there here.
Okay. In the throat.
So many people think, madam, I'm getting irregular menses and you're writing about thyroid. How is it related? Yes, we are what our hormones are. Our body is full of hormones and everything is from here, the brain. The brain regulates everything in your body. So this brain contains the hypothalamus, pituitary. Those secrete some hormones. And this hypothalamus tells the pituitary to secrete certain hormone, and this pituitary tell the gonads. Gonads is what? The sex hormones releasing organs. Okay. So this pituitary tells the ovary of the female and testis of the male to release certain sex hormones. Okay. So female hormones are estrogen and progesterone. Male hormone is testosterone. So this is called as hypothalamus, pituitary and gonadal axis, or in females it is called as hypothalamus, pituitary and ovarian axis. Okay. So in short form it's called HPO or HPG axis. This is an axis. So this hypothalamus is very sensitive to its environment. The hypothalamus, which is present in your brain. So it's more sensitive to the stress, the environment, the food, the exercise. So brain is like really assimilating what you're giving to it. It only gives you back what you give to the brain actually. Okay. So when you take so much of stress, when you go into that inadequate sleep, inadequate diet, there is no healthy lifestyle, there is no exercise, then the hypothalamus, it doesn't get activated the way it wants to. It also follows certain circadian rhythms, day, night. There is melatonin production in the night. So it works in that way. So when we disrupt it, the entire HPO axis, what we are talking about, is regulated or indirectly influenced by the thyroid hormone. Okay. So the TSH, the thyroid stimulating hormone from the pituitary, it regulates the HPO axis actually. So it has an indirect effect on the HPO axis. So when your thyroid gets disturbed, automatically the hypothalamus, pituitary and the ovarian axis get disrupted. So then what? Then your ovaries...
entire system is
disrupted. So this is how you get your menstrual irregularities. Okay. And this is how, you will have the blood clotting differences, your factor 7, 8, 9, 11. These are all blood clotting factors. They get affected. So, and obviously there is certain menstrual irregularities end of the day. So this is why thyroid is very important in maintaining this HPO axis and then your hormones and then your reproductive system.
Yes.
The hormonal imbalance. So thyroid is very, very important that way. So we are abusing our bodies and then thyroid is becoming very common, especially among females of childbearing age.
Okay, is it very common in childbearing? Yes, I think even I got it. PCOD I got it long back. Thyroid I got it after marriage.
Yes.
Okay, so now that we have known the importance of thyroid, do we always have to go for a test, or there are any other things that we can do prior, or any other symptoms that we can observe to just identify that we have thyroid?
See, basically thyroid is of 3 types. One is euthyroid, where your thyroid profile is normal. Everything is normal. That is euthyroid state. Then you have hypothyroid condition, where you have decreased thyroid hormone secretion. And the other one is hyperthyroid, where there is increased thyroid hormone secretion. So each has different manifestations and symptoms. If you remember, when you got thyroid, you're feeling breathless, you're feeling fatigue,
increased weight.
Yes. Increase in weight, menstrual irregularities. Yes. Cold intolerance.
Yes.
Then headache, depression, mood swings.
Oh, I had everything.
Hair fall, memory loss.
Yes.
Gaining weight, menstrual. So these are all common symptoms of hypothyroid. Where your thyroid is secreting less hormones.
Less. Okay.
Yes, okay. So and again in hyperthyroid, your metabolic rate increases rapidly, and you feel sweating. You lose your weight. In hyperthyroid,
It's the opposite.
it's the opposite. You feel tremors, you feel sweating, you feel heat intolerance. You can't tolerate heat.
Oh.
But it also has some certain menstrual irregularities also.
Okay. And what about that U1?
Euthyroid is you'll have normal profile, but you'll have that menstrual irregularities, and you do all the checkups. You feel normal. Everything is normal, but you're still having that problems, whatever your infertility issues or your general menstrual issues or your general body fatigue or something. You feel thyroid is always normal. Why do I get it? So this is a tricky situation. Here, there is a entity called thyroid autoimmune disease.
Okay.
Okay, and this autoimmune disease will initially show you that normal thyroid values, but inside it does the damage what it has to.
Oh, it's an autoimmune disease.
Yes, autoimmune disease.
That must be dangerous than the others.
Yes, because it's diagnosed at a late, and it has more effects on the infertility issues and also on the menstrual issues and also on the pregnancy. So it's very important when your gynecologist asks you. So not only in euthyroid state, even in even in hyper, you can have this autoimmune disease of thyroid, and these are called as Hashimoto's thyroiditis and atrophic thyroiditis. Maybe you have heard about it.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, now.
So autoimmune diseases, your body's own antibodies are attacking your own tissues.
Yes. So which type of thyroid is most common in female in India?
In India, in females, the most common is hypothyroid.
That means lesser thyroid production.
Yes.
Okay.
So again, the tricky issue is people will see the report. Then I tell you your TSH is quite high and you're into hypothyroid. Then they say, what? You're telling the TSH is raised and you say that I'm a hypothyroid. Yes, Pita, because TSH is a pituitary hormone.
Yes.
It's not a thyroid hormone. Thyroid hormone is T3 and T4.
T4, yes. That's what we usually do.
So when your thyroid, it starts secreting lower hormones, then a signal goes to the brain. Thyroid is secreting lower hormones. Kindly please increase the dose of hormone to stimulate the production. Then the pituitary starts secreting excess of TSH, the thyroid stimulating hormone. That is TSH.
Okay.
So the lower the thyroid hormones get, the upper the TSH gets.
Okay. Is it opposite for that hyperthyroidism?
Yes. For hyperthyroid, the higher the thyroid hormones goes, the lower the TSH comes.
Okay. So whenever we see the reports of thyroid, it's very confusing. It's full of numbers. So can you please explain us what are the normal values? When should we be tensed or when should we feel relaxed?
For the childbearing age group, whenever you, at least yearly once, you go for a thyroid examination, because
Everyone.
Universal screening is recommended, but people with more of high risk, people with PCOD, people who are obese, people who had a history of BP in the previous pregnancy, these are all high risk factors. Age more than 30. So if you go for screening, it's better. Okay. So the accurate values you get when you get your TSH and free T4 done. It's not the total T3 or total T4. It's the free T4 level that will give you an accurate estimation of your thyroid state in your body. Okay. Now when you come to the thyroid stimulating hormone, the TSH, the normal value is 0.3 to 2.5 for females who wants to have children or who are having infertility problems or who are pregnant. Generally the adult value what you get in the report is till 5. Till 5 it's normal, but not for the females who want to have pregnancy or who are pregnant. The first trimester value has to be 2.5, and before you getting conceived, the value should be 2.5.
Okay.
So it's different from adult males and adult females and you, this childbearing age especially. Okay. So you treat when the TSH is more than 2.5. You treat with levothyroxine.
But don't use it without your doctor's permission.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
make
very
sure
important.
we get checked because thyroid is a very khatarnak. Yes, even I was not very depressed when I got PCOD, but I was quite depressed when
You
I
went to a
got
state
it.
where you were like breathless also.
Yes, yes.
Causes cardiomyopathy, causes muscle weakness, fatigue. You were seriously breathless and you left your job.
Yes, even to the point of leaving my job, I was
Because
so
we never
sick.
expected that you will land into
Yes, I
thyroid
was
problem.
like,
But
yes,
that's why I advise
yes,
everyone who undergoes more stress and who have that disrupted life cycle.
yes. So taking thyroid medicine is a big rocket science for me at least, because some say 20 minutes is fine, some say 1 hour. So what is the actual method and how long should we take before breaking our fast?
Thyroid medicine should be taken the first thing in the morning after you brush. Sometimes even if you don't brush.
It's a personal choice.
It's a personal choice. I recommend after brushing, the first thing you take is the thyroid tablet. And after taking it, at least for 45 minutes, you should not take any water, no tea, no breakfast, nothing. You should be on empty stomach.
Okay. And even gulping so much of water, taking on the name of thyroid tablet is also not good, right?
No.
Only a little bit of water.
Little water with tablet with 45 minutes of gap for the next tea or breakfast.
Anything that goes inside.
Anything.
Okay.
That will give you that high efficacy of the medicine.
Okay. What happens if we take at 20? Is it like any
So
side
that
effect?
interferes with the metabolism.
So there's no point in taking
because you're
medicine.
taking a direct hormone and it needs some time to get disseminated into your blood and work.
Yes. So ladies, it's 45 minutes, not 20
Basically,
or
it's a
30.
long-acting drug, so it's sufficient for once a day, but it requires some time to get into the
Okay.
blood and then act
So it's better as soon as you wake up, you just take a tablet and then...
in between the sleep. When you want to wake up at 7, get up at 6, take the tablet and sleep. That's my
I
advice.
used to do that when I was working.
Yeah. Especially pregnant women will be on iron and calcium drugs. So this iron and calcium will definitely interfere with the levothyroxine which you are taking.
Okay.
So never take iron and calcium tablets less than 4 hours after taking your thyroid tablet. There should be a gap of minimum 4 hours from the thyroid tablet and your iron and calcium. That's why I prefer giving my patients who are on thyroid tablet to take iron tablet soon after the meals in the lunch and then calcium in the dinner.
So
That's a
ample
better
of
way.
time.
There is time.
Okay.
And vitamin D supplementation in hypothyroid patients or in any thyroid patients is very important because vitamin D helps to regulate the thyroid hormonal environment.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
So maybe we should take it more.
Yes, vitamin D is very important because earlier people used to stay for longer periods in the sun, but now we are like entirely
Now
caged
with
and
this
lockdown,
corona
it's
and
more
all,
worse.
everybody knows.
So vitamin D is very important for immunity and for many and number of reasons. So vitamin D is very, very important. When your doctor writes thyroid and then vitamin D, you don't think the doctor is writing for something or his money in the pharmacy. Okay? We doctors not always write for the pharmacy because most of the times we don't own the pharmacies. It's
For the benefit of
benefit
the
of the
patients.
patient end of the day.
Okay. So ladies, point number 2 to note, D3
Yeah.
is your best friend.
Yes.
Yes.
But don't do anything, don't do in excess. That too also, doctor will take care of it, okay?
The dosage.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Don't do everything on your own and then give our YouTube channel address. This doctor
This
told
is
me.
just to justify the doctors, to help the doctors to just write vitamin D3 for you to understand it more.
Please don't take everything you want and give the reference of my sister. No.
Yeah.
Consult your gynecologist before. Infertility has become quite common these days, right? So, is there any relation between thyroid and infertility, and how does this affect?
Definitely, we talked already about the HPO axis
Yes,
and your hormones, the
the
hormones.
irregular menstrual cycle definitely
Yeah,
affects.
exactly, and all the clotting factors and the menstrual they directly affect the infertility.
Okay.
Okay, so the thyroid correction and TSH of 2.5 is very important before you get conceived. Because even after you conceive, say you're lucky enough that your TSH is somewhere 10 or somewhere 4, more than 2.5, you conceived. So you feel you're the luckiest person, though I have thyroid, I conceived. But in the first trimester, say in the first 12 weeks of pregnancy, your fetus uses the maternal thyroid hormone for its brain development. Thyroid is very important for the brain development, especially for the fetus. In the first 12 weeks, in the first 3 months, it uses the maternal T4 for its brain development.
The mother's hormone.
Yes.
Directly.
Yes. Because the baby cannot produce its own T4. So it uses the mother's T4 for its brain development. So when you don't give sufficient T4 for the baby, then there are pretty high chances for the baby to have lower IQ.
Brain abnormalities.
Yes.
Brain development problems. And
Yes.
Oh, so
When the TSH is more than
So it's
2.5,
better to-
especially more than 4.
correct thyroid first and then get conceived.
Yes.
Yes.
At least do your thyroid test in the first trimester. You go to the gynecologist and the gynecologist write antenatal profile, thyroid profile. Doctor, I'll do it next time.
Or I don't have thyroid, direct on face.
నాకు థైరాయిడ్ లేదు. అవునమ్మా చేయించారా? లేదు, మాకు ఎవరికి లేదు. It's a good thing.
Yes.
Being positive is a good thing. But it's better because I have now told you how important
Yes.
maternal T4 is for the baby in the first 12 weeks. Get your thyroid test done in the first trimester itself. And if your dose is correct, then you can repeat it every trimester, like every 3 months.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
But you need some dose adjustment then every 6 weeks till your
okay.
dose gets adjusted. Okay? So
Yes.
repeating thyroid is a good thing.
Yes.
Okay?
If suppose the thyroid is not corrected, how does it affect the pregnant mother?
When the thyroid is not corrected, a pregnant mother has more chances to land up in preeclampsia,
Oh.
to have high hypertension, can have IUGR, there is growth restriction, okay,
Yes.
and there is preterm deliveries.
Did I have all this because of thyroid?
Could be.
Oh.
Could be.
Yes, I remember my thyroid was little high and you increased the dose.
Yes.
It was double.
Because we tend to increase our weight in pregnancy and the doses may get fluctuated.
Yes, and lack of sleep. Everything was very interrelated.
So
it was a vicious
Frequent
cycle.
monitoring of your thyroid is very important.
Yes. Okay. So it's very important, more than how much we actually think it is.
Yes. Yes. And especially we have talked about thyroid autoimmune disease like Hashimoto's and Graves and all. So here there are certain antibodies that attack your thyroid, and there is every chance of those antibodies to transfer through the placenta to your baby.
Oh.
Okay, so the neonatal thyroid screening is required, and if at all you are into that autoimmune state, then early correction will like nullify all these effects on the baby. So it's that very important.
Ladies.
So when people say you have thyroid, then go for this antibodies test. The doctor is writing all unnecessary tests. I have thyroid.
One
no?
test too.
I got thyroid. No, then what all these antibodies and all? He wants to squeeze money. It's okay. It's okay. But
More than our generation, our mother's generation will be like, Ma, apudiki test lani levu. Oh God. But yeah, our lifestyle is different, our food is different, our stress level is different. So listening to all this, I'm really worried, like how did I even give in birth? If I know this information before, I would have been a little stressed.
yes, yes. So
That's
being
quite
aware
important.
is important
Yes.
because today is World Thyroid Day. And
Oh.
at least taking these few minutes to understand what is thyroid is very important.
Yes.
When your thyroid is more than 2.5 or when your anti-thyroid peroxidase antibodies are more than 2000, there is every chance of you on landing into miscarriages. Okay, the chance of miscarriages is more in hypothyroid patients than in normal population.
Oh.
When you have frequent miscarriages, then think of thyroid.
Okay.
And when you have normal thyroid, go for antibodies test also.
So many things are there with that little gland.
Yeah.
Okay, so is this thyroid only for females or is it also for males?
The incidence of thyroid abnormalities in males is less, but if a male has certain thyroid abnormality, he definitely will have certain infertility issues.
Infertility for them too.
Yes, because it affects. The same for the male. It's
The
like
axis.
HPO or
Yes.
HPT or HPG. whatever.
Okay.
The hypothalamus, pituitary, and the gonad axis gets disrupted, and obviously the testosterone levels get disrupted, and then obviously the sperms that he secretes is affected, and there is certain changes. There is decrease in the concentration of the sperm. There is decrease in the motility. There are defects in the morphology of the sperm.
Mm-hmm.
There is difficulty in fertilization of the sperm. So definitely these factors will be corrected once the thyroid is corrected in the male.
How do we identify?
So for an infertile couple, we generally do a routine screening and then we can identify, or the symptoms go same with the male also. In hypothyroid, he loses weight and sweat and all. So
Okay.
that symptoms also
Except the
can-
menstrual part, the remaining depression.
So when you find his semen analysis is little different, then think of thyroid.
Okay.
Though the incidence is low, definitely it's a
There
very
is a possibility.
yeah, possibility, and it's very easily available test. It's a simple test.
Yeah, these days and all your
It's a lifesaver.
all your
Sometimes.
gynecologists have been definitely testing both the partners
Yes.
before giving the infertility treatment.
Even in infertility patients, with the drugs what we give to the patients, for the egg to release or whatever it is, they can land into a permanent subclinical hypothyroid state. Subclinical is where your TSH level is high, but your FT4 is like normal. That is called subclinical, and majority of the patients lie in the subclinical group.
Okay, what is it? Can you explain us a little bit
A
more?
subclinical hypothyroid state is your pituitary is secreting more hormone. That's why your thyroid hormone is like normal, but there is the damage going on.
Okay,
So
invisible
the
damage is still
FT4
going
is
on.
like normal, but your TSH is high. That is subclinical.
Oh.
Overt is your thyroid hormone is low and the TSH is high.
The opposite one.
Yes.
That we discussed prior, I guess.
In infertility treatment, when we give drugs for the egg to release or something, there could be certain permanent changes in the thyroid hormonal physiology. You can land up in permanent subclinical hypothyroid sometimes, or for a transient phase. So even though your thyroid is like normal, they can check your antibodies, or they can like put you on a small dose of thyroid that will like help you more than you imagine. Okay?
Even after listening to all this, that tiny teeny tablet is doing a lot of work actually.
It took so much of effort.
Yes.
For every drug, there is so much of effort put in.
Yes.
And we just tend to ignore and we like see, is it like really necessary?
Sometimes I feel very hungry and I estimate, is my breakfast important or this? And sometimes I opt
But when you
breakfast.
think of the effort put in to find that one single drug, you'll never do that.
Yeah.
Because people died when they have no drug like that.
Yes.
People suffer.
And looking at all these things that you have discussed, I think it's not, my breakfast is not important. Tablet is more important.
Yes.
Fine. So now that we know so many things about thyroid, how can, now I have thyroid, or maybe women with pregnant who have thyroid, what can we do from our side to actually bring it down or normalize it? As we all know, lifestyle changes are there, but anything in particular?
The new annoying word of doctors to the patient is, are you ready?
Yes.
Lifestyle management. When a doctor says lifestyle management cheyandamma,
It's like nothing is
it's
given.
boom. Then the patient is done. This doctor doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
I'm talking about thyroid and this female is talking about lifestyle management. They have nothing but this. They always try to blame me. No. The main etiology of all these diseases, say PCOD, say thyroid, say preeclampsia, everything has this lifestyle management. When you do this properly, these things tend to get corrected automatically with the medical help, definitely.
Yes.
But eventually, you'll get like independent of all this. Like you
Okay.
feel good, you feel better. At least the dosage get decreased and your weight gain gets decreased, and the
Yes.
effects what the thyroid can abuse your body can get decreased. So the lifestyle management is very, very important. And there are certain foods called goitrogens.
Yeah.
Goitrogens, like I think you know that.
Cauliflower, cabbage.
Yes,
beans,
cabbage and
and-
cauliflower has certain goitrogens. Goitrogens are that affect your thyroid gland. So it's better to avoid cabbage and cauliflower.
Is it like completely avoid, or is it like sometimes we can take it?
Some cheat days are okay as long as you are like strict
Maintaining,
with your
yeah.
medication and all. But it's better, especially people with heavy goiter, heavy swellings, and people
And
who are
pregnant.
pregnant and who require higher doses. Better to avoid.
Completely.
Because I know people sometimes we tend to neglect our health. Because I know my own colleague's wife, she died of thyroid cancer, and that's the biggest painful thing I have underwent.
Oh,
If you can remember Mahadevpur.
Yes, yes.
Yes, that's the most painful thing, because she was having that obvious goiter, and we were just thinking about the TSH levels and the dose management, because her husband was a doctor and he was trying to, like, it's okay, and we don't think beyond certain things sometimes, and she eventually landed in thyroid cancer, and eventually she died, leaving 2 children, small kids behind.
Oh,
So
that's so pretty of you.
it's so disheartening.
Yes.
So the endocrinologist is again important here. Not your local RMP, or not your, like, like an experienced patient is better than a doctor. So, no. Not even me as a gynecologist, I refer my thyroid patients to the endocrinologist, because everyone has their own role in treating the patient.
Yes.
So that effort, or that extra step to go to the endocrinologist, who is really more worried about the thyroid. I'm more worried about uterus. Okay, so he can, like, give you more inputs into it.
Yes, and one more thing I also observed, as from I always talk from the patient's point of view. Most of us think that, oh, if I get my period, I'm fine. I'm like fine, but I don't think it is fine. Listening to all the things that you have said, there is so much going beyond. Not only just the periods.
Your metabolic rate is dependent on your thyroid hormone,
and
your brain development.
Yes,
is
the
dependent.
vital organs are involved with it. I think girls, even if you get your periods on time, I think it's great time to actually get back our lifestyle, as we all see lifestyle management. So coming to this point, are there any typical tips that you want to give us?
Iodine is one important thing. I think we all know about iodine. Iodine helps in the secretion of thyroid hormone. So previously we used to get the Annapurna salt, iodized salt and all, because iodized is a fortification of salt, where people were going into iodine deficiency and eventually into thyroid, and then eventually into decreased IQs.
Yes.
Okay, so iodine. So iodine is important, and make sure nowadays everybody is using iodized salt, and that's not a big problem. But remember, iodine is one thing, and that is especially when you are into some salt restricted diet, or when you are into some typical diets and all, when you want to decrease your salt, make an eye on the iodine, because iodine is very important for the baby as well when you are pregnant, because it tends to decrease IQ if you don't give sufficient amounts of iodine.
Okay, so we'll wind up with one last question that I have. So, is there any possibility in our lives ever to get rid of this medication? Or do we have to take it until we die?
It all depends. If it's a transient increase with your lifestyle management, it can get reduced. But if it is out of the etiology of your family history, or something with your autoimmune disease like Hashimoto's and all, you may require longer medication.
But if it is like the regular
hypothyroid with lifestyle management and with the advice of the doctor, and if you're willing for repeated tests even after stopping the drug, because we don't know when it's going to spike
strictly
again.
Adhering to the lifestyle management
and every 6 months,
checkups.
Every 6 months or every 3 months is
3 months I think doesn't hurt anybody. Yes. So yeah, there is a possibility if you don't want to get up in the morning and take the drug, so better change your lifestyle. Thank you so much for your time and enlightening us with so much of information. Me being a health psychologist, I'm being frank, I don't know many of these things, and thank you so much for sharing. I hope it is helpful for all of you. If you do think so, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell icon next to it. We'll see you all in the next video. Until then, stay home, stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.